All right, everybody. Celtics go down to South Beach, and well, let's just say they took care of some business tonight. We're gonna get into it all here on Green with Envy, so let's lock in. What up, what up, what up? Welcome into another post-game edition of Green with Envy. As always, this is your boy Will Weir checking in. How you doing? How you living? Joining me tonight, as he does each and every time, my best friend, co-host, and the coach of our podcast, the one and only Greg Menegas. And I'm hoping you're living pretty good after that beatdown tonight, Greg.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out like how I want to express myself. I'm really happy. I'm really happy the Celtics destroyed the Heat, but I also want to temper some expectations because the Celtics, like the last time we were on a second night of a back-to-back and a national TV game, we didn't even show up for like
I
for
had
the
this
first
thought
half of
towards
the
the end of
game.
the game as well. So it would be slightly hypocritical, the fact that we were like, it doesn't matter. We were on a back to
Right,
back. We
right.
get a pass, but we put a beat down on the Heat. Now, I will say for the Heat, this is a team, I believe it's either their fourth or fifth straight loss in a
Fifth,
row.
fifth they
That's
lost.
a
Yeah,
team that had a little bit of, we better get our shit together. And tonight's like could have been a night that's a rallying call. I mean, I caught a little bit of their game last night against the Grizz. It was ugly against the Grizz last night. That
yeah.
was an all around putrid affair, just from an NBA perspective.
Well, it seemed like they were trying, when they're trying to acclimate a new guy, they're trying to get Terry Rozier, figuring out where he's going to fit in that
Mhm.
lineup. They're just so small with Rozier in the starting lineup. If they're going to go Rozier, Hero, whoever you want to put at the three, it's probably going to be Jaquez
Yeah.
when all said and done. Butler and Bam. That's just a really small starting five. And Terry's not the guy that like I've ever really been scared of since he left the Celtics. Like, oh, he's had a couple of good games. For the most part, it seems like we know how to take advantage of Terry. He can't
Mhm.
really exploit any of the defensive matchups. You throw Tatum on him for a couple possessions, he kind of loses his shit. And then we have all these guys that can just kind of lock down that type of player. Like Terry, he's quick, but he's not like the water bug point guard type that really gives us issues. He's not the best pick and roll player. And then
Mhm.
you can exploit him on the other side of the ball, even though he's tough and physical and quick and he has long arms and all that. He's just not the type of guy that has ever really given anybody on the Celtics issues. And the fact that they already have all the history with him, especially Tatum and Brown, they're not scared of Terry, right? They're just like,
Yeah.
oh, it's Terry. It's one of our homies. And I think for the Heat, trying to level up with the trade, Rozier, I think, is a good pickup. It's an upgrade over Lowry. It's just like it doesn't really address the main issue on their team is that they're really small and you
Yeah,
can't
they need
play
some more size.
Rozier and
I
Tyler
mean,
Hero together.
Rozier feels like, the Rozier hero thing. I was saying this to our buddy Raul, who's a Heat fan. He and I were chatting in the DMs. Was like, I like the move. I think it's a good, like you said. If you just look at their team, is the exact same as it was 4 days ago, except they have Rozier over Lowry. So that you're better just
Yeah.
from that standpoint. But I think at the end of the day, especially at the end of the game, they're only going to be able to have one of those guys on the court. I think for me, that's kind of a coin flip. All right, who's hot, Rozier or Hero? That's who's getting the spot in that scorer's role for us. At the end of a game, you add in Jaquez, and then I think it's really they need. I mean, they got away with Kevin Love for a lot of the time last year and Caleb Martin. Can they do that again? Can Magic strike twice? I
Not
don't
when you
know.
put Luke Cornett on Caleb Martin and shut that shit down.
Hey man, maybe that was the missing recipe for it. Luke Cornett was Cornett contesting all over Caleb Martin tonight. I thought the rule was he couldn't miss for us, but you know what? With that said, let's get into a morning box score here, so we can kind of recap everything and kick us off right here. Morning box score today, the Boston Celtics 143, the Miami Heat 110, an absolute beatdown as we're talking about here. Let's start with the Heat. The Heat actually, to give them a little bit of credit coming off a back-to-back, having lost 4 straight, now 5 straight, they were hanging around despite the red hot shooting of the Celtics in the first half. They were lingering around, and I know, Greg, you were tweeting about this. Like the Heat are just hanging around enough to make one really strong push, just never really got to a point where they could really put that plan to fruition. But Jimmy Butler, 7 of 11 from the field, 17 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals from him. Bam Adebayo, 19 points and 5 rebounds. Tyler Hero, 19 points, 6 assists, was 5 of 10 from the 3-point line, 4 of 4 from Haywood Highsmith as well from the 3-point line. And then new acquisition, old friend, Terry Rozier, still getting acclimated, 3 of 10 from the field, only 7 points for him on the night. But let's go over to the Celtics, who were just historically hot. I'm just going to go through all of the starting 5 here and their stat lines because it's pretty ridiculous. Let's start with Jaylen Brown here, 7 of 11 from the field, 4 of 8 from 3. He finished with 18 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals. Jason Tatum, 7 of 15. Honestly, cold compared to the rest of the starting at 7 of 15, 3 of 7 from 3, 9 of 10 from the free throw line, 8 rebounds, 4 assists. He had 26 points on the night. Kristaps, shout out, that looks like Kristaps is going to be okay. Did obviously roll his ankle in this. We'll talk a little bit about that. Gave everyone in Celtic Nation a little bit of a mini heart attack for a second there, but did end up back on the bench at the end of the game. He was 6 of 9, 3 of 4 from 3, 4 of 4 from the line, 19 points and 4 rebounds for him before he left. Drew Holiday, who started off as being the only guy that didn't really get going in that first quarter, then came on very strong the rest of the game, 7 of 8 from the field, 3 of 4 from 3-point range. He had 17 points to go with 5 rebounds and 5 assists. His partner in the backcourt, Derek White, 6 of 12 from the field, 3 of 9 from 3. He had 15 points to go with 6 rebounds, 6 assists. And the bench wanted to get on the fun too. Al Horford, 3 of 4. He had 8 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, 11 points for Peyton Pritchard. And Greg, you mentioned Luke Cornett with the Cornett contest, 12 points and 5 rebounds. Alley-oop Luke Cornett. Luke Alley-oop Cornett was just throwing him down left and right in that third quarter. Another great performance from Luke. The Celtics as a team, shot 63.7% from the field, 55% from 3, and 95% from the line. So regardless of what the Heat's efforts were going to be on this night, when you're shooting like that, especially with the talent the Celtics have, they're not losing a game. They're not losing a game if you give me that stat line ahead of it.
Dude, and we have to scroll so far down to get to the team totals because everybody got in.
Everybody got in. And that's the thing, is you thought that even in the last about 6-7 minutes was all the G League bench unit, basically. G unit. Let's go like the G unit. I like that. You thought that maybe like they might miss a couple shots, but you got O'Shea Brissett was 2 for 2. You've got Svi Mikhailuk knocked down 2 threes. So it wasn't exactly as if, Lamar Stevens knocked down a shot as well. Like it wasn't exactly like they were cold. They came in and just fed off that energy.
Yeah, I mean, 35 assists to 10 turnovers or 11 turnovers. Not sure which one that is right there, but
you can't even see the top of the
You can't even see the top. I don't even know what column that is. I think, the Heat didn't put up much of a fight in this game, man. To me, it was like the Celtics, yeah, we shot otherworldly, but when a team like the Heat on a second night of a back-to-back just completely no-shows on the defensive end, they didn't try on defense the entire game. They didn't put up any fight. They saved all their energy for offense. And I kept tweeting about it. I was like, it feels like the Heat are trying to conserve their energy, just hang around that 12 to 15 point, go on one mini run, and then hopefully they can just like figure it out in the fourth quarter. And they just never did. They got it to 16. Joe Mazzulla called a timeout. For everyone who says Joe Mazzulla doesn't call a timeout, Joe Mazzulla called a timeout. It's a good timeout. We came back in. The Heat had you could tell they ramped up the pressure. They're like, all right, we're down 16 right now. We're making a little run. Let's try for the next 2 minutes. Let's get 2 stops, guys. Let's get 2 stops.
Yeah.
And they missed the 3-pointers that would have got them within 13. I think Duncan Robinson missed a wide open 3 on the right wing. And then from there, the Celtics closed it out. Jaylen Brown and Luke Cornett 2-man game closed out that third quarter. Jaylen, I mean, the whole team, because the Heat didn't pressure the ball, like there was no pressure, point of attack pressure from the Heat at all throughout the game. It made it very easy on the Celtics. They played in their own space. They didn't feel sped up at all.
It almost felt like a practice.
Yeah, and Jaylen Brown, I want to give Jaylen a shout, as I always do. But coming against the Heat, that's kind of the team that makes him see ghosts, right? Especially when he's driving into the paint. Jaylen's normally first quarter shot out of a cannon. He played at a very mature pace tonight. He didn't force anything. He was almost going half speed the entire game, and the Heat kind of allowed him to do so. I thought Jaylen was great. Tatum started the game, getting to the line, taking my guy Hightower into the post. I know his name's Highsmith, but last year I called him Otto Hightower. And I think when you establish yourself in the post early in the game, like Tatum did, it just allowed the Celtics to just calm down, get into the flow of things. We unlocked Porzingis. Jalen was on fire. Tatum got caught on fire in the third quarter, and then everybody just played well, man.
I mean, the first quarter was honestly maybe a perfect quarter, just about from the Celtics on an offensive perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to nitpick, yeah, offensively, you want to nitpick a few things here and there, but from an offensive perspective, that was everything that you wanted to see. You had KP space on the floor. You had Jaylen Brown making, very mature decisions that we don't always see in the first quarter. Like you said, he's shot out of a cannon.
Taking the challenge, guarding Jimmy Butler.
Making the hustle plays, that little play that was early on where he saved the ball from going out of bounds and kept the possession alive. I forget I know it led to a point. I can't remember who actually scored on that, but you had Derek White getting some offensive rebounds on that weak side, that same spot where he put up the final shot in game 6 last year. You had him getting going from 3, and you really just had a little bit of everything from everybody. And Al Horford came in and was moving the ball around. I think he had 3 or 4 assists in that first quarter when he came in. So that was really, and just an amazing start for this team, and they never let up, right? It was just foot on the gas the entire time. And with the Heat, I don't know. Like you said, it's tough to sit here and just, number one, it's tough to come out here and be too chesty, because we've seen that story before. We've done it twice already, 3 times really, and twice we got bit in the ass with being a little chesty of the Celtics got the Heat's number for this or that reason. It always feels like that should be the case. I'm never going to make that mistake again. Right. Like, I'm still going to wait for them to be, because they don't care. The Heat, probably to a fault, don't care about what their regular season looks like.
And they don't care about playing at home against the Celtics. They only care about going into Boston and winning in Boston. Like, that's the only game that Jimmy Butler gets up for, is when he gets to travel to Boston. Remember last year when he had the social media post when he'd been out for a while, and it was his first game back. He was like, hey, Boston, I'm coming for you. Like, they get up for those games. They're struggling right now. I'm not going to count the Heat out either. I'm not writing them off like I'm writing off the Warriors. I think the Warriors are done. Maybe there's like something because unfortunately their coach passed away. Maybe that's like the rallying thing,
galvanizing type thing.
Exactly.
Maybe they have one move to make, and I don't know. Like, that's kind of their only hope. But yeah, I mean, from I feel like it's kind of tough, right? Because it was such an exciting game. I feel like we can't really learn too much about this game. It's Terry's second game, and the Heat just kind of didn't have it tonight.
We can learn that it feels good. It's really nice whooping that ass.
This is the other side of the Bucks game against the Celtics, right? Where it's like we sit here and we're like, it's okay, 5 games, 7 nights, whatever, yada yada. Bucks fans are sitting there like, we feel great. Then again, you fired your head coach 2 weeks later, so that just tells you a little bit about what was really going on there. I mean, I think from Celtics perspective, one part that we do got to talk about, like I said, in that third quarter, everybody held their breath when Kristaps Porzingis went down. He limped off. Like, that was a very scary moment when that happened. And I think just about every Celtics fan saw the season kind of flashing before your eyes, especially because in this matchup, Kristaps was just such an absolute matchup nightmare for the Heat, right? The Heat, when Kristaps, especially in that first quarter, as we talked about everything being, borderline perfect in that first quarter and a half, whatever, Kristaps was a huge reason why. And when he was knocking down those 3-point shots, doing his little shimmy shit or whatever the hell whatever he pulled out with that move, you're like, looking at that and thinking about the Celtics the last couple of times versus the Heat, it's like, this is the difference. This is something that just completely wasn't even an option on the table, is what Kristaps brings to this matchup. So seeing him go down was a little scary, but because he came back to the bench, of course, now I'm sighing, pretty big sigh of relief. I'm sure he might be out a couple games here coming up. But I'm sure you were just as worried as I was when you saw that happen in real time.
Yeah. And everyone's tweeting, oh, he's going to be fine. It's not much of an ankle sprain. He was back on the bench, so he probably is going to be fine. But the concern is that he's 7'3", and you never want to see a foot injury to a big guy, right? So even if it's like, oh, I've rolled my ankle like that, like friggin' in my backyard playing with my dogs, I've rolled my ankle like that getting out of the shower, getting out of bed. Like, that's not that bad of an ankle sprain. But when you're 7'3" and you have a history of lower body injuries, that's when it becomes concerning. You don't want it lingering. You don't want him playing the next game, coming back too soon and favoring that ankle, and then maybe something happens on the other side of his body. So right now, if I'm the Celtics, I'm cool with Kristaps Porzingis taking a few games off. Let's get that ankle good. We have a solid lead right now.
Let's get Luke some more touches.
Luke's been great. Luke, we got to talk about Luke because
talk about Luke.
I thought Luke was awesome tonight, man. I think he's been playing great. With the thing with Luke, because he's huge. He's like 7'1", right?
Mm-hmm.
Coming into this year, I never felt his size on the court. Now, when you see him on the court, he's throwing that body around. He's going up with two hands, getting rebounds. He's finishing lobs, and he's realizing, I think, that he is a big guy, right? And that he's one of the biggest human beings on planet Earth, and he's acting like it. And we didn't have that last year out of Luke. I didn't think we were going to get that on this year out of Luke, and he's proven me wrong. That was the thing. I said Luke wasn't even going to be in the rotation this year. He's earned his spot. The Celtics do not need to make a move for a third big because Luke Cornett is a really good positional defender, and now he's starting to understand how he can kind of like input himself into the game on the physicality side of things, and also the two-man game that he's running with everybody and playing in the dunker spot. I think it's great. Every broadcast that covers the Celtics from a national TV perspective, they always are just like amazed at how big the Celtics are across the board.
You know what? He's the new Tice, right? I feel like this happened with Tice a few years ago, where the NBA on TNT guys fell in love with him, and Brock was like, "This guy Tice, who is he? He's great."
Yeah.
And and we had all at that point already caught up. We're like, yeah, Tice is pretty solid. Surprising how good he's become. But then it became a little bit overhyped as to how good Daniel Tice actually was. But this is kind of the recognition of, hey, Luke Cornett's like not just a meme, right? He's just not the Birdman meme. Like, he's a guy that can actually play. And I think for me, his aggression around the rim with some of those alley-oops, or even just being in the right spot. And, I feel like we would have seen a more passive Luke the last year and a half or so that he's been with the Celtics, whatever time it's been. But right now he's feeling like, if I get the ball, like, they're giving me the ball because I'm putting myself in the right spot and I'm going right up with it. Like, I'm not hesitating to say I got to get a kick out 3 to Tatum or get a kick out 3 to Sam. It's like, no, I'm in the right spot. I'm making the right move. And the fact that they're going to these actions where it's just, all right, Jalen and Luke, this is everybody spread out, everybody to your corners. It's Jalen and Luke, which is hilarious to think about from so many different perspectives. Number one, we're trusting Jaylen Brown to make the decision, right? Like, that's a new thing, or new-ish type thing. And then the fact that Luke is his partner to do it with, and they did it, I think, 3 possessions in a row tonight that worked out perfectly. And so, to your point, if KP, which I would assume he's probably out for Saturday night against the Clippers, we'll see about next week. I'm sure they'll be, they got a back-to-back against the Pelicans and Pacers to start the week. So I'm sure he'll play only one of those two. So likely we see KP for at most one of the next 3 games would be kind of my guess. But you feel great about it with Luke being the guy that's stepping in.
Yeah, and I think this is another great opportunity to potentially give Kata some minutes. Maybe, who knows, maybe Jordan Walsh sticks with the big club and he gets more than just 3 minutes.
Still got to get that bucket, man. Someone's
what I really like about Jordan Walsh? He had an open 3 tonight, and then the defense was closed up, passed it up for an assist, so he got his first assist tonight. I thought that was really cool. Celtics fans really just want something new, like a new toy, like a new young guy that we can be like, that's 5 years from now, Jordan Walsh, he's going to be the guy.
That's going to be the best thing. Whenever he scores his first point, let's say he gets a dunk or he hits a 3, and maybe that's his only points of the season, you're going to have people on Twitter, I don't know, man, did you see that 3-pointer he hit at the end of the game against the Pelicans in February? Like, I don't know. I think Walsh is the guy. I think it's him.
Yeah, and we're all excited about that. One thing I want to point out, shout out to our guy Wayne Spooney here, who posted this. He posted this on January 13th, and I think the numbers have continued to rise since then. But he said, the rise of Jaylen Brown, pick and roll guru. He's 13th in point per possession, including passes of players with 100 or more pick and rolls this season per synergy. He was 110th last season. He's right in the same breath as Devin Booker, Dame Lillard, Trae Young, Jalen Williams, Craig Porter, just in there somewhere. And then Jamal Murray, James Harden.
I've been to a couple of random Cavs games where he's been playing well. So shout out to him.
Shout out to Craig Porter. Derek White, number 5 there. But to see Jaylen Brown go from 110th, and shout out again to Spooney from First to the Floor, posting that stat. this is just showing you that all the stuff we were saying earlier in the season, the numbers, just like the sample size wasn't big enough to start backing up like what we were seeing. Jaylen Brown is a guy that the Celtics are entrusting to make simple reads out of the pick and roll. He doesn't have to do too much. He's still not making like the super high level reads, but he's getting really efficient making the simple reads in pick and roll. And when you have Kristaps Porzingis to make things easy for you on a pick and pop or a pick and roll, and you have Luke Cornett, who's really good at the short roll, or as we saw tonight, Cornett's getting better at rolling to the rim for verticality. I think Jaylen is starting to understand with the increased reps, because I'll say this again, Jaylen Brown never had the opportunity to run pick and roll like this. Like, this is the most pick and roll he's been entrusted to run. This is the most he's ever initiated in offense. His usage rate, like in the past, it's not like that different, but the way that he's being utilized with the ball in his hands is different. He's bringing the ball up the court a lot more. He's being trusted to initiate the offense and make the primary read. And I think Jaylen Brown, here I go again, extolling Jaylen Brown, but he deserves it, man. He's an absolute all-star. And there's no question Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are the two all-stars for the Celtics. And it was really interesting to hear Reggie Miller kind of put his plant his flag on Derek White as an all-star island tonight too.
Really? Actually, I didn't hear him mention that. Did he mention tonight that he thought Derek White was an all-star? I don't know. I must have
Once or twice.
Yeah. Shout out to Jason Tatum though. Jason Tatum making his 5th All-Star game back as an All-Star starter. They'll announce the reserves next week, I believe. Real quick, New York Knicks fans, what's good? How you not going to vote your guy Jalen Brunson enough to get into the All-Star game? Like, he lost on a fan vote. Come on, guys. Like,
that's
Nick Nation.
Pathetic. That's pathetic.
And here's the thing, like, I saw somebody, I can't remember who it was on Twitter, that was like, everyone just votes for their own guy. I'm like, all right, well, Tyrese Halliburton plays in fucking Indiana. Like, enough people outside of Indiana.
You also know, because the games in Indiana, the NBA was stuffing those ballots.
I mean, potentially, but I mean, the thing is, he's also fun as hell. But like New York,
but there's no way Halliburton wasn't starting this year.
Yeah, that's true. But you know what made me think of is, I saw at one point they put up a graphic of most points per game, like first year as a Celtic, and I kind of forgot Kemba Walker started in the All-Star game the first year he was a Celtic, and so he had to be pretty freaking high in the fan vote, right? So it can be done from a fan base that, like the Knicks, to go ahead and get their guy propped up enough to get into the All-Star game starters. But he'll probably still make, he definitely will still make it as a reserve. So I don't think will be much of an issue there. But speaking of the Knicks, I did want to take a quick look around the league here, just because there were some interesting results that I haven't watched a lot of these games. Saw a few highlights on Twitter, but 2 pretty interesting results in the Eastern Conference tonight. So let's start with the Knicks, who put a beat down on the Denver Nuggets tonight, 122-84. I know in the third quarter, Jokic had 31 and 11. He finished with 31 and 11, so I'm assuming he did not play that fourth quarter. But Knicks been playing some pretty damn good basketball since they got OG and Anunoby. And I know, Greg, you're pretty high on the Knicks right now as well.
Yeah, man. I think the Knicks are the team to watch out for in the Eastern Conference. I think they have all the pieces to match up really well with the Celtics and to give the Celtics issues. The first thing that they have is they have that water bug point guard that gives the Celtics issues in pick and roll, right? So that's the first thing. They have a weapon on the offensive side of the ball that you can't really stop. There's not really much you can do when Jalen Brunson knows the angles of pick and roll, has a great screener in Hartenstein, and gets into the paint. And he's just so good with his footwork. Even though we have 2 of the best guard point of attack defenders in basketball, it's going to be really hard to just neutralize Jalen Brunson. So that's one thing they have. Next thing they have is they have a versatile big in Hartenstein who can get out and cover Porzingis. One thing that we've seen...
By the way, didn't play in this game. He was ruled out with an injury.
Didn't even play in this game. Shout out to Texas legend Jericho Sims.
Yeah, Jericho Sims getting the minutes as the big man. Him and Precious.
And I think that with Hartenstein, when you saw Mitchell Robinson try and cover Porzingis, he had no chance. Hartenstein's the type of big that can recover out to Porzingis and at least contest the 3-point line. So I actually really like Hartenstein. I really like the way that he hustles. Julius Randle, for some reason in the past, like nobody on the Celtics can guard Julius Randle. We used to put Grant Williams on him and Grant will get cooked. I would imagine we're not going to have quite as much of an issue with Randle this year. I think that we're just a we have better pieces to guard Randall. Horford coming off the bench to throw at him. Porzingis just to be big around the rim. I think Randall's not as much of an issue for me. But the OG Anunoby signing, man, I think that's huge. Although Tatum has played well in playoffs against Anunoby in the past, I think there's a reason Jason Tatum has the lowest points per game against the Toronto Raptors for any other team in the NBA historically. And I think that's OG. OG's one of those guys that's just like really freaking physical to the point where Tatum like kind of is like, I don't want to be as physical as I am in other matchups because like it's just a lot. Like OG Anunoby is one of the strongest dudes in the league. And I think that Tatum understands if he tries to play like out physical Anunoby, that's not going to work. So I'm just concerned with how the Celtics match up with the Knicks. I still think we're the better team, but if we're looking around the East of the teams that I think are going to give us the most issues in a second round matchup, I think the Knicks are the team that I would probably want to avoid.
Yeah, and right now with that win, they jump up to the 4 seed right now in the East. And, just my quick thoughts, because I agree with a lot of what you said about the Knicks. I mean, they just got to – are they going to be able to score enough is my question. A lot of that's going to hang on what type of Julius Randle do they get in a series, right? And then even if they get a decent Julius Randle, like, I don't know. I still have questions of if they have enough scoring overall to keep up with the firepower that the Celtics have. And like you said, I think that will be, Adam and I talked a little bit about like just where the standings were the other day on the last podcast. And like for me, the Knicks are a team I look at that it could go 6 or 7 and it's going to be grueling. And so I'd like to avoid that, but I don't really have a fear of losing in a series to the Knicks if both teams are healthy. I just don't see that happening. But they are at the 4 seed right now. So as it stands, that is kind of, heading towards a second round match. But the other result that I want to just make quick note of here tonight, the Pacers, without all-star starter Tyrese Halliburton, take down the 76ers 134-122. Pascal Siakam, the newest Pacer, put up a triple-double, 26, 13, and 10. As I said, I'm just kind of box score watching.
No Harris in this game, seemingly.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just kind of scoreboard watching, but I know Embiid was available, Maxey was available. So, I mean, and the 76ers are pretty deep when it comes to even if they're missing a guy like Tobias Harris. But
great game from Neesmith.
No Halliburton in this game, and the Pacers getting this win. That's a big game for the Pacers, especially because since Siakam has come on, they haven't been able to really align him with Halliburton because of the injury. So being able to get a win like this to start to build that team chemistry with Siakam, that's a really big step for this Pacers team that is now actually the 6th seed with them winning and Miami losing.
Yeah, shout out to Aaron Neesmith. Heck of a game, man. 6 for 8 from the field, 3 for 3 from 3, 8 rebounds, 3 assists. Nice game from Neesmith. Good for you, buddy. Pascal Siakam.
Your guy Nembhard had a solid game too.
Yeah, man, I really like Nembhard. I'm excited to see what he becomes. 3 years from now, does he have his own team, or is he like the 6'4" or whatever he is, Tyus Jones, where he's just like one of the best backup point guards in the league. TJ McConnell's another guy, man. They mentioned I like that there was a little Pritchard TJ McConnell comp on the broadcast tonight. TJ's great, man. He's one of probably the most underrated bench players in the league right now. I wonder what his odds are for 6th man of the year, because he's been really, really impressive. Anytime I tune into a Pacers game, TJ McConnell's just doing shit. He's just
I'll tell you what his odds are. You just give me some money. He's not winning it. So just give me the money. Whatever you're going to bet on TJ McConnell, just give it to me. He's not winning. I'll tell you that.
Who are the favorites right now? Do you have them up?
I do not.
I thought you were like.
I do not. But I just know TJ McConnell's not, without even thinking about who else is going to be in the race for this. It's not going to go to TJ McConnell. I just will guarantee that without even thinking of who the other candidates are off the top of my head right now.
Let's look at TJ McConnell's numbers this year, man. Yeah, 8.1 points per game, 2 rebounds, 5 assists. Yeah, it's probably not going to get it done for end of the year awards. But I mean, dude, I really like TJ McConnell.
I like him too. I was just
playing 16 minutes a game, right? So I wonder what his per 36 numbers are. That
just real quick,
maybe like analytical argument.
The odds here, I pulled them up from, it doesn't really matter what website, they're not sponsoring us. Tim Hardaway Jr., Malik Monk, Jordan Clarkson, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Karis LeVert, Benedict Mathurin, Naz Reid. Those are kind of the top 6 or 7 guys.
They'll probably be Naz Reid. I would imagine.
Yeah, Naz Reid's a good one. I like that.
Yeah,
one.
if the T-Wolves continue to win at the level that they're winning at, I would imagine they get some hardware at the end of the year.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty solid one. But Yeah, man. So we'll see here. Celtics, big win tonight, 143-110. Always fun to get a beat down on the Heat because we never know what lies ahead when it comes in the playoffs. But coming up for the Celtics here, they got Saturday night showdown with the Clippers, who, have obviously we beat them in LA back in December. But this should be, if Kawhi Leonard's playing, he didn't play in that game. So hopefully he plays Saturday night because that will be a fun one at the TD Garden as the Celtics now start a 7-game homestand. You got a question?
Will this game be on at your engagement party?
I had this thought earlier tonight. So we have some friends that are throwing myself and my fiance Lorena an engagement party on this night. So I got a feeling that I'm probably gonna need you to cue this up on your phone in the corner and then wave me over for big moments. I'm pretty sure that's gonna have to be the setup, but we'll see. I don't know if I want to, just in case. We'll see when the wedding actually falls, and if there's something going on, then I don't want to use all my juice up on a game in January here.
No, that's fair.
Fair. We'll have to see, but that should be a fun game. And then next week the Celtics start the week off with a back-to-back with the Pelicans and Pacers at home. So a couple of fun matchups coming up here for the Celtics. Should be a great time. We'll know more about all-star reserves next week, so we'll get into that this week on some of our other podcasts that we have. As always, appreciate you guys joining in, checking in with us here. Make sure you are subscribing to the YouTube page. We have memberships live. So if you want to get early access to some of our podcasts, you want to get special access to our Crunch Time series with Greg and Adam as they break down plays. We're going to have some other things rolling out that go along with that. Hop into the Discord. You can find the link below wherever you're listening to this podcast. But Greg, any other final thoughts before we send everybody out here to some Black Sheep Optimists?
Nah, man. I think I'm gonna go drink some chocolate milk. Little bedtime snack for myself.
Hey,
little treat.
Shout out to Al Horford, the sponsor of all chocolate milk everywhere.
And shout out to Dry January. Peace, everybody.
Right. We'll see you guys later. Peace.
Every time I get this high, I lose my mind. It don't take much no more until I hit the floor. Every time I get this high, it's you I find. It don't take much no more until I'm at your door.
You cut me to my core, baby. What can I say? You got me on the floor. You know I came to play. I know I shouldn't, but you seem to take